What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Killer Drone, and welcome back to the Minecraft How to Build series. In today's episode, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make some custom warped nether trees, and I'll also be showing you guys one of the transformations that I have done to a warped forest biome. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and let's get to the tutorial. Okay, so to get started, let's go ahead and find ourselves a nice flat area for us to put our tree in. Then what we're going to do is we are going to take 4 blocks just like that and bring them up by 4 blocks. Then what you're going to do is take yourself a corner 3 blocks like this and bring that up by another 4 to 5 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll do 5 for this one. Then what you're going to do is come down to the bottom here, and you're just going to add in some roots to the bottom to make this area look like it's a little bit more connected to the ground than it actually is. You can even add some roots in a little bit away from the tree as well, just to make it really look like it's grounded in here. So something a little bit like that will make the trunk of your tree look a little bit better. So the next and probably hardest thing to do for a custom tree is the limbs, because if your limbs don't look natural, then the entire tree is not going to look natural. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our first limb right off of this corner here, where we left out the blocks coming up from the trunk. What we're going to do is we're going to come up, and then we're going to kind of wind our limbs up like this. We don't want anything to have a straight diagonal all the way down. We kind of want to give it a curve. You can also come back through and knock out a little bit of the bulk, just like this, maybe even here instead, just to make the limb look a little bit skinnier. Coming over from this side, I would come off of the trunk a little bit so that you aren't just building up the entire trunk and you actually have some splits. And then I would take from this block and do another limb coming out in this direction a bit. Once again, just trying to give it a bit of a curve, and then coming back through and knocking out some of the bulk as I see fit. And there we go, we have ourselves a second limb. Coming off of this diagonal here, I would once again just come, make a little bit of a curve here. In fact, this one's going a little bit straighter than I want it to. And then maybe something a little bit like that. Also, your limbs do not all have to end at the same height. It looks like all of mine have thus far, but if you have one limb that's taller than the other, that's not particularly a problem. So off of this corner here, what I'm going to do is, again, take it at a diagonal off of the trunk, and this time I'm going to make sure that I do this limb a little bit shorter than the others so I can show you guys what to do if your trees are not all at the same height. So maybe something a bit like this, where it's 1 block shorter, or I guess we could do it, yeah, let's just do it as 1 block shorter, and then we'll do this one as 1 block higher than the others. So the entire tree is going to kind of lean in this direction now. So there is no exact science to creating the limbs for your tree in Minecraft, but the general idea is you want to have something that you can stand back and look at and go, that is a dead tree. That looks like a tree that has absolutely no leaves on it. And I can give you guys my general tips, like making things that are crooked, making things that don't have exact diagonals. You can even bring some of your tree limbs down your trunk a little bit to make them look like they're a little bit more natural, a little bit more jagged around the bottom. But again, no exact science, but you have to make sure that your limbs do look natural. You don't want anything to be very straight lines. In fact, your tree should look so good right now that you should feel confident with hanging some chains and some lanterns off of it and just leaving it as a dead tree if you want to. That is how your limbs should look. They should be able to stand on their own without a canopy. However, let's go ahead and get in the canopy. Okay, so removing all of those soulfire torches, and let's get in the canopy for our tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the highest limb of all of our limbs and just start by making a platform above each and every one of the tops of our limbs. So just a big square platform like this, making sure that all of our limbs have a block above it. So go all the way around just like this, and then we'll connect it up just like so. So as you can see, my tree limbs are not in line. They're not at the same height. Nothing like that is occurring here, and we're still going to be able to pull this off. So let's go ahead and lower this side of our tree down to here, and what we're going to do is just get ourselves a nice line like this on both sides, because we're going to make the entire tree lean just a little bit in order to cater toward this side that is hanging down a little bit lower. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to fill in all of these gaps to the best of our ability, just like this. Anything that is on that level, go ahead and fill in, and do that all the way around and just fill all of this space in. So now you should have something that looks a bit like this. You should have your canopy way up in the air over here, some type of step down over on this side that you may want to flatten out just a bit by bringing some of this back and then kind of extending this out. Just kind of get a feel for how your tree is. Mine is going to be very heavily leaning toward this side, but that's completely okay. That is fine to do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring another nether wart block right there, or I guess a warped block right there, and another warped block right there in order to finish off this platform. And now it's going to be a bunch of bulking this entire canopy up. And by that, I mean adding in a bit of randomness and a bit of fluffiness to the underside in order to start making this look a little bit like a canopy. So this is going to be very much just a random mass of placing down different wart blocks. It's okay if things are not at the same height. That just adds more depth. And you're basically just going to take this single platform and bulk it out a bit. If you have to have some that are hanging down really low, you can do that. So maybe I'll do one like there that's hanging down pretty low. Cover up all of your limbs, bring down some of the canopy a bit, and just thicken this area up. So as you can see, if I step back here, it's already starting to look just a little bit better because we've actually added in some thickness. If we keep doing this, and I keep doing this all the way down, and continue to really bolster that lean that is already in our canopy because of the limbs being different heights, things will start looking good. Back here, we have this very straight line. What we're going to do is kind of bulk that up at the top, and then bring down a little bit of messiness down here at the back, just to make that straight line look a little bit better. So the lower you have to bring things, the better. That's fine. It's okay. Don't have too many super low spots, but overall, you don't want too little either. You want something that's really going to bolster this area. So once again, all of this was straight lines. Again, just going to bring some of it down. Anything that's super flat, I'm going to add some wart blocks to. And then, if we step back for just a second, you can see once again, we're getting ourselves a nice canopy now. Let's go ahead and remove some of these, get a little bit more air, a little bit more see-through line going through there. In fact, I may bring this down just a bit, like that maybe. Yeah, I like that. And a lot of this is just going to be playing around. And don't worry too much about the top yet. We're going to do the exact same thing to the top of the canopy as well. But if you can get the underside looking good, then you can get the whole thing looking good. The underside is really the hard part. So something a little bit like that's not bad. We can go ahead and start adding a little bit to the top just to make that lean look a little bit better. And if you have holes in your canopy, that's okay. Doesn't particularly matter. Just make sure that you get a ton of blocks around here to really emphasize the lean that we have going. So something a bit like this, and I'm just going to connect this over to the edge, like so. Get it kind of close to the edge in a ton of regards, like this. And now let's step back and see what we got. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a pretty good looking tree so far. Now this one, we have not went around this wood yet at all, so I'm just going to do that. Bring the limb down a bit, maybe come at a diagonal there. And so far that is looking really good. I may bolster this out just a bit. But like I said, a lot of these organic builds do not have an exact science to them, so you're gonna have to just play around with them. Start with your flat platform, do the underneath, bring some areas down, basically just add depth. If you need to drop things down even more, go ahead and do that. Don't be scared to play around with things like this. Just place blocks and see what fits. Like I just placed those blocks. I don't like how they fit. I'm gonna remove those blocks. Let's go ahead and place them here and here instead. And I think that I like that a little bit better. And there you go. You have yourself a custom warp tree. So the next thing that I like to do to my warp trees is add in some chains and some soul lanterns. It's a nice little touch in order to kind of add an underglow to the underside of your warp trees. Now you could also use some shroom lights as well. They do work good, but I find that the orange texture up underneath here can kind of be overbearing at times, and I'm not entirely in love with that. But the soul lanterns you can hang down from chains like this, and they're just like a nice little touch, just a nice little quaint piece to a tree like this, to a warp tree, and I absolutely love it. And I'll just hang these down throughout the entire tree, something a bit like this, just to give it a nice underglow and a nice bit of flair. And there you have it. You can hang these guys at different heights. You can hang them in random places throughout your tree, but it's just a nice touch, almost like an earring hanging on your tree. I absolutely love that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take what we've learned and let's make an entire forest of custom trees. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. There is a small section of forest done with these custom trees with the soul lanterns hanging down. I also managed to get in a small base in one of these trees as well, where we have ourselves some chests in here, as well as some crafting tables and things. Everything that you could possibly need in this area for a nice little starting nether base. So you just come up here and you climb up these vines just like so, and you're able to get right into your stuff. Not bad at all. Basically all this is some warped slabs going around the outside of our limbs with some full blocks here just to make it a little bit of a domed shape. And there you go. You have yourself a nice little treehouse base. Not bad at all. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that is going to be where I wrap up for today's episode. I do hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like on the video, as well as if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. You guys have a great day.